If someone, a friend of yours, lies to you, or someone rips you off for 50 bucks or 20 bucks, right? And you catch them. You say, listen, why did you take my money? And the guy says, I didn't take your money, right? You're pretty pissed off with that guy. You know what, Mike? I took your money. I apologize. I was gonna pay you back, but you came and I panicked, so I took your money. You can live with that, all right? But you have some explaining to do. Okay, that's reality. I can't change that. Okay? If this is something that got out of control, that you just planned on taking her and you thought you were going to put her back, or just take her for a ride, that's fine. It got out of hand, then we need to talk about that. Okay? You need to sit and explain that and say why. Okay? If not, then I say people think the worst until they know. All right? That's human nature. You and I have both done that in our lives. If we don't know the facts, all right, people can think the worst, and this is what you have to deal with. Okay? This is reality. There's even steps that, things that you've done to your vehicle to try and conceal the crime. Like I say, you just can't, there's no magical stuff that washes away DNA or gets rid of DNA. Okay? And keeping in mind, a lot of the stuff that you did is on cameras and other spots. Okay? I mean, Home Depot has all kinds of cameras. Okay? Parking lots and inside the store. So even if you don't go into the Home Depot store, there's still cameras in the parking lot for security reasons and for thefts and other reasons. So this case primarily is solved through cameras, all right? But also there's other things. I mean, you didn't do this alone, as I've told you. I never told you who was with you, though I know, and I know what her role was in this. Okay, and I also know it was your vehicle. But I can sit and write this out. I can draw this thing out from the time Tori is picked up to the time that her end has come. I can tell you that stuff. All right. What good is it coming from me? The investigators are going to do that, okay? My role is to sit and determine what the hell happened here. What caused you to get involved in something like this? And that's all my role is. And if I walk away saying, I don't know what caused it, then that's the way it goes. Too bad, right? That's just the way it goes. But if I sit with you and determine what happened and how this got off the rails, then you're not sitting there alone, all right? Because you may be a lonely person for a period of time until people understand what the hell happened, okay? And the person that judges you, the people that judge you, will all be people that have made mistakes themselves. But human nature is very simple. We all appreciate when people are honest with us, and when we all admit our mistakes and acknowledge when things get out of hand. There's nothing wrong with that. But then there's also times when we're not tolerant of people that won't be honest in a situation. It's not like, I'm not trying to belittle this or make it seem insignificant. I know what I'm asking here, okay? I know that I'm not asking you to do something easy. I know that, okay? And I know, just because I know the case facts, and I've sat in rooms for many hours with people under circumstances like yours or worse. I'm not trying to downplay it or minimize it or be like some kind of smart ass. But at the same time, you have to understand, not only is there a ring of truth to what I'm saying and a ring of experiences to what I'm saying, because I've been there and been around it, but there is no other way. You don't have any other options. There's nothing else that you can do to change what's happened to her. We can't turn back time. However, we can explain how things got off the rails, whether it was something that happened slowly or just went right off the rails right from the beginning. It can be as simple as you driving up the highway and think somebody spots you with her in your car, and you make a series of decisions, all right? I mean, that's happened in the past, where people have picked someone up and they weren't sure what they were going to do. Somebody saw them, and guess what happens, right? They panic. I can give you another example of that because it was in the news recently. I don't know if you know it. It was a case that was 38 years old. Okay, happened in Northern Ontario, up by North Bay. And the guy was actually living in London. He moved away 38 years after the death of this 12-year-old girl. And through technology and DNA, they were able to solve it. Have you ever been heard of that case? Why? Because the guy said, yeah, he was driving up the road, he took this kid, and as they're driving up the road, he sees a person, he grabs her by the head and pulls her head down the dash of his truck. And someone saw him do it, but didn't know who the person was. And years later, he gets convicted of it. He acknowledges, yeah, you know what? I screwed up. And you've never even heard of this guy. And that happened in London last year. That happened in October. That it was a great big media event that had happened. and it was done in court in December, and the whole thing was done. There was media attention to that. Nobody even it wasn't even on your radar. Okay, so these things do happen. All right, whether you don't hear about them or not, these things happen. Why do you think the OPP has a behavioral sciences section? This is all the stuff that we deal with. Okay, we deal with occurrences that are unusual. We deal with situations that aren't regular situations, and that's not what this is. This isn't a regular situation. This is a couple of people that made a series of decisions that hopefully they understand aren't quite right, and that they feel bad about, and are willing to apologize and accept the fact that hey, I made a mistake, and I wish I could take it back. But I just sitting there, I'm thinking, am I dealing with someone who's got all these issues? Am I dealing with someone who people are going to think is some kind of monster? Or am I dealing with someone who let something get out of control, okay? And they got excited and couldn't control it. I think that it got out of hand. If you're asking my opinion, I'm telling you. And I'm on video saying it. I think this situation got out of hand. That's my opinion. And I believe that, okay? I don't think that you're some kind of monster. If I did, you'll find me pretty candid. You'll find that I'll come right out and tell you, Mike, okay? I don't think that, okay? I think this got out of control. I think it got out of hand, okay? Are you some kind of monster? Or did you make a mistake here? You made a mistake, right? This is a mistake, right, Mike? You'd take it back if you could? This is a mistake, right, Mike? You'd take it back? If you could turn back the hands of time, Mike, would you do this a little bit different? Mike, I'm talking to you. If you could turn back the hands of time, you're not some monster. You made a mistake, right? You'd take this back if you could? This is a mistake, Mike. You need to deal with this.
I am no monster,
I know
but I did not do what you think I did.
I know you did. We're past that, okay?
No.
We're past that, Mike, okay?
Mm-mm.
I know you're not a monster. If I thought you're a monster, I would tell you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wouldn't just walk out. I would spend some time with you if I thought you're a monster, just because I want to see what makes you tick. But you're not a monster, all right? This thing has consumed you. Look at you, right? You can barely eat or drink. You haven't touched your donut, right? Why is that? Because your guts are eating yourself up inside, okay? You can't sit and say that you're innocent and what's the first thing you did when you got in here? You just laid down and curled up, right? It's all over. You know it's over, okay? You know it's done, okay? You don't have to be an expert in body language. All you've done is lay around in the fetal position since you've been here. That's not how innocent people act. That's not how people that are falsely accused of something act. It's the last thing they do.
Possibly that it's freezing. I haven't eaten since noon. It couldn't be that this is all just a huge shock to me. No, it couldn't have been any of that at all.
It's probably all of that. But it's also the fact that you're involved in it. It's probably all of that, Mike. Okay, the fact that maybe you haven't eaten that much, and maybe you are cold. There's no question. The first thing you said to me was you're cold and hungry, so that's why I grabbed you that stuff. Okay, and I'm willing to accept that. Maybe that is part of the issue. Okay, but there is a larger issue here. Okay, and it's the issue of the evidence and the issue that you're involved in this. Okay, and we can't change that. But there's no problem with acknowledging that. Like I say, nothing's going to change now. I mean, it's up to you. There's a lot of things I'd be willing to sit and do with you if you're willing to do it. If you want to sit and you and I discuss an apology, I would sit and do that. Whether it's a verbal one where you say you're sorry, or whether we write one out, I'd be willing to do that. If you want to go for a drive with me and you drive around and explain things, I would sit and do that. Okay? I have no issue with that, Mike. I have no ill will, anger towards you. I have none. You don't make me mad. You don't upset me. Nothing like that. Okay. The only issue I have is I don't fully understand, and I acknowledge it. I don't have to come in here as a behavioral scientist and tell you that I don't understand something, but I'm telling you that. Okay. And I don't understand how you can fly under the radar for 28 years. Okay. And get involved in this. Though it does happen. All right. It does. It happens actually all the time where this stuff happens. Again, I've actually given you a couple examples already of people that didn't have, real dealings with the police and get involved in this stuff where they abduct somebody. That happens all the time. And sometimes it's as simple. One of the most common ways an abduction happens is through hitchhiking, where someone's hitchhiking, someone picks them up and they realize, oh shit, and they just decide to keep them for a period of time. That happens all the time. Happens in Ontario, happens across Canada, okay? This one's a little bit different because, you know, the girls picked up the, well, Terry, let's call a spade a spade. Terry picks up Tori, brings her to your car, and you guys drive away. That's reality, okay? Can't change that. That's a different kind of abduction, and I've acknowledged it. It's unusual, okay? It's an unusual kind of abduction, and it's not normal. I don't know how much you know about Terry, but anyways, she's involved in this. We know that. She's acknowledged this. We know that. She's already confessed and apologized to this. Been there, done that. So there's no real surprises here, okay? The only issue is how the hell did this spin out of control? What's your side of it? Because, I mean, we already know hers. But what's your side of it? And that's what I'm here to sit with you and talk to you about, because I wasn't the person that talked to Terry. The other officers did. I volunteered here to come here and shoot the shit with you because I've talked to people in worse situations than you, okay? And like I say, you've been pretty respectful with me. You're not giving me a hard time. You're not being rude to me. So I'll sit with you because, but you know, the reality of it is I can walk away and you're going to sit and deal with this on your own for the rest of your life, okay? I'm here to tell you that I'm pointing out some obvious things to you. All I've really done is point out common sense and put some experiences I've had in behavioral sciences, but the reality of it is we both know people think the worst until they know, and we both know that someone to fly on the radar for 28 years and then be involved in something like this, something's caused it, okay? So all I've really done is point out the obvious to you, all right? You're a smart guy. You're nobody's fool. You know the situation. You know you're in a tough spot, but there's a lot of things here that we just can't sit and ignore, okay? And you know, you just sit and saying, "Wow, you know, it didn't really happen." We're just too far past that. It's unrealistic, okay? Maybe a month or so ago when the investigation was new, you might be able to pull that, but you can't now. It's just all you're doing is hurting your own credibility. And again, this is your opportunity to say your piece, but you got some pretty serious explaining to do here, okay? In the big picture. Now, without me, if I just leave you here, you got some stuff that you need to explain. I don't have to explain it, you do. Okay, I've already told you what my opinion is, and my opinion is something caused you to do this. Okay, because there's little things. If I just say a sentence or a word, right, I can make this thing seem a lot worse than it is, right? I could just sit here and say, you know what, Mike? I said, I'm going to leave here. You can spend the next little while figuring out how you're going to explain the purchase of garbage bags. Okay, well, you have this kid with you. How are you going to explain that? Okay, I can explain it because I've been around this type of stuff. How are you going to do it on your own? Okay, I've acknowledged already what my thoughts are of you. Okay, I've told you that from the beginning, that this is out of character for you. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's why you don't want to talk to me, because maybe you're thinking, oh, you know what, Chris, you're wrong. You know, maybe I've done this before. Maybe I plan on doing it again. All right. I don't think that, but I mean, you could be sitting here playing me, right? How the hell would I know? Okay, I can tell you that I don't think that's the case because I've sat across from a lot of people, again, that have been through stuff a lot worse than you. You made a mistake, man. Deal with it, and we move on. Here's what happened. I'm not saying for a second that you sat and watched a bunch of pornography and that's what pushed you to do this. That's not what I'm saying at all. All I'm doing is I'm drawing a comparison to another case that I was involved in that was very similar. Okay, but then you in fact helped me by pointing out that you don't even know who these people are, because nobody became insignificant in the end because the person who did it was honest about it and said what happened and actually apologized and then offered tips to parents to safeguard their children. I'm not asking you to do that unless you want it. I'm not asking you to do anything you don't want to do, but I am asking you to be truthful. That's the only thing I'm asking of you, okay? Because the truth is the only thing you have at this point. Your credibility, Mike, is all you have left. Okay, you sit here 2 or 3 years from now and say, okay, I got a story, I'd like people to listen. Who's going to listen? Why would they listen? Okay, you don't have the credibility once all the versions are out there and the evidence is all out there. Now you go, oh geez, I see what the evidence is now. Now I can make my story match the evidence. Nobody cares, right? Because you have no credibility. At this stage here, you have credibility because you can acknowledge your side and acknowledge what happened, and then you can move on from there. All right. And that's the first piece. It's the same I told you earlier. If someone has a drinking problem, is to acknowledge it and move on. Okay? Here's what happened. I'm sorry. And I moved on. And if you're not comfortable with apologizing, maybe not everybody is comfortable saying they're sorry or admitting they made a mistake, that's fine. I'm not going to ask you to do something that you're not comfortable with. However, I am concerned that you're just going to sit here and, oh, well, we'll take a chance. Maybe I'll just leave it and it'll all work itself out. Well past that, Mike. This is not going to work itself out, okay? We're past that. You need to acknowledge what's caused you to do this, okay? And if it's because you're loaded up on oxys and it seemed like a good idea at the time, then maybe we better talk about that, okay? Because it appears to me that half of Woodstock is on oxys based on what I've seen from this investigation. So if you're part of the norm in this town and you made a series of bad decisions because of it, then we better talk about it. And people will be an awful lot more sympathetic to that than you just sitting there saying nothing, okay? Because there's a very large percentage of people in this town that are on oxys, okay? And in the big picture, that will become part of an inquiry as well as to why is it's so easy to get oxys in this town, and why are there so many people? Because percentage-wise, I travel all over Canada, all right? I'm based in the headquarters, and really I travel all over Canada for different cases. I've never seen oxy like this in my life, okay? And other seasoned investigators have come on this case have never seen oxy like this in their lives. There's a problem with oxy in this town, okay? Very much so, okay? So we can't change that. So if you've had too many oxys, you've been strung on them too long, then that's fine, okay? And I can tell you all kinds of stories of people that are addicted to them, okay? Sometimes it's people that are using it for recreation, for a different type of high, different type of drug, but often it's hard-working people that get an injury or get in a car accident and they get addicted to them, right? That happens, okay, for the pain. But it's highly addictive, right? I think if you review the stats, you'll find that people who are on it will tell you it's more addictive than cigarettes, it's more addictive than alcohol, all right? So if you've been strung out on oxys for a period of a couple months, and then you made a bad decision, and then all of a sudden at the time it seemed good, like it's like when you're drunk and you pick up a girl, that was a great idea, right? Until you figure out later she was married, or a stalker, I've had that, and you realize that was a bad decision, okay? That's all this is, okay? Mike is a bit of abuse of oxys, then you and I should talk about that now, all right? Because it's going to be easier for you and I to explain that to this community than anything else, all right? Because the percentages, you know how many people are on oxys around here, right? The police know how many people are on oxys. They had a rough idea before. They can tell you who has oxys, right? And they can tell you who's supplying them, right? Just through this investigation. So the oxy issue will dry itself up. But there's also a very good chance that there's going to be a separate public inquiry into the OxyContin use. Who's prescribing this shit? How come there's so much of it on the street? All right? And how can somebody go pick up a prescription for an injured mother or father or relative and just be given these oxys, right? And how many of these oxys actually make it to the person that they're prescribed to? So there's an outlying issue here, okay? There's a secondary issue with oxys in this town. And if that's what this is, and you had too many oxys, and you made a series of bad decisions, then why don't you and I talk about that? Because we can already show that the victim's parents are using oxys, right? They've admitted that themselves, right? So who are they to judge you, all right, when you're doing the same thing they are? And maybe they're doing it more, all right? I'm prepared to sit and listen that you didn't brainstorm all this stuff and that this got out of control, like I am, or I wouldn't be here, okay? I am prepared to listen to that, okay? But you have to also acknowledge that there's a problem, okay? And it's just like drinking. If you're an alcoholic, the worst part of that is you're out driving a car, right? And that's one of the worst things with alcoholics, is the drunk driving. But you have to acknowledge it and move on. But you're no different than a large percentage of people in this town, okay? And however you got hooked on them, whether it was through recreation, or it was fun, or it was a source of income, then that's fine, okay? Because when you sit back, and I'm quite a bit older than you, and you go back when I was in high school, if someone dealt a hard drug, they got many years in jail. They got years in jail, minimum 5 years to deal drugs. When have you ever heard of anyone getting 5 years in jail for anything, right? They don't. So drug use, there's more drug traffickers out there now than there's ever been. And if one gets arrested for drug trafficking, 2 or 3 pick up that person's clientele and expand. So if that's all this is a series of poor decisions through the use of OxyContins, then why aren't you and I talking about that, right? Well, that's what you and I need to talk about. If this is OxyContins, and I've sat here and discussed how people want to draw parallels to Paul Bernardo or some kind of monster, that's not right, okay? But only you and I can get to that, Mike, okay? Only you and I can get there. Because if that's all this is the abuse of OxyContin to the point that it messed your head up and you grabbed this kid, then we better talk about that. Because maybe there's a panic after you grab the kid.
I didn't grab any kid.
Well, the kid was put in your car, all right, by Terry. So if you didn't grab her yourself, that's fine. We certainly drove with that kid in your car, okay? And that's the issue, and you're on video doing it, okay? So if you didn't grab her yourself, that's fine, okay? I can live with that. But what we have to do is explain what happened after the kid was in your car. And I'm willing to sit and do that with you, okay? Because your credibility is all you're going to have left. And this might be the only logical explanation, is drug use, right? Drug abuse. You're not the creator of OxyContin, you're not the first person to use it, and you're not going to be the last. However, it will dry up in this community in the near future as a result of this. But, I never said for a second that you went and took that kid from the school, because you didn't. But that kid was taken from that school, all right, by Terry, and put in your car, okay? And you were there, and you were part of when the kid was driven to Guelph, okay, in the Home Depot. And then from there, the kid, into the demise of the kid. But this is the stuff we need to explain, okay? This is the stuff we need to acknowledge. I need you to be like you were, Mike, when I first come in. And you clarified, because it was me that screwed up. I was the one that said break into a car, because it was my terminology. You need to be the one that corrects me, okay? And you need to be the one that said, like I said that you're involved in this abduction. Well, you know what, maybe I better be a little more clear with my words. Terry grabbed that kid from the school, okay? We know that. For a number of ways. There's a whole host of issues. Plus the fact, she matches the comps, and she's on the video, and it's later determined to be her, and then she actually subsequently admits to it anyways. But there's all kinds of evidence of that. And your car was on that video at the time. It's a unique car, right? It's a nice looking car. It's got a unique spoiler on it, and it grabbed the attention of the video camera. There's no question. I mean, your car's nicer than mine. My car wouldn't be on there. But that's reality. These are the things that you need to talk about to get your side out now. Because 2 years, no one's going to give a rat's ass. No one's going to give a shit, right? 2 years from now. Because you know what? Mike had his chance and he didn't say anything. Nobody can control your destiny now but you, okay? I can. I mean, I've already told you. I've already put my cards on the table. I'm already going to walk out of there and say I've spent my time with Mike, and I don't think he's a monster. I don't think he's going to kill 2 or 3 people in his life. Okay, I'm a threat assessor. That's what I do. I work in behavioral sciences. My job is supposed to be to determine the future. What's Mike's threat when he leaves here? Mike's had his opportunity to say his piece, okay? And he's choosing not to say it. But at the same time, you've also been polite and enough, and I don't know what the other word. Polite, and you've been able to point out if I don't word something wrong. I have no issue with that. In fact, I'm rather glad you did, because it shows that you're paying attention and you understand. I want you to take this serious, right? I don't want you to think that this is all going to go away, because it won't. And you have to acknowledge that. You have to know that. You're smart enough to know this isn't just going to go away, right? You can't just wake up tomorrow and pretend it didn't happen. But what you need to be comfortable with is tell the truth about what your role is, how this thing spun out of control like it did, and how a guy who's flown under the radar for 28 years ends up in this situation with all this overwhelming evidence implicating him to this crime, okay? That's the issue. Again, I don't think that, I've told you that, I don't think you're some kind of monster, but we've gotten off the rails here. Somehow you got off the rails and got yourself into this thing, okay? And if it wasn't your idea, then I wouldn't mind hearing that as well, okay? But it's got to be your words, Mike, not mine, okay? You don't need me to draw you a map or draw a little story of what happened from the time that she's picked up to the time that she's gone. I don't have to do that. The evidence is going to do that. But if that's all this is because of the oxys and nothing else, then why don't we talk about that? Now, I've talked a lot about, is it the oxys? Is that what the problem is here? Is that what's caused you to get involved in this?
I've taken oxys.
What's that?
Taken oxys?
Yeah, I know you've taken oxys, yeah. Is that what's caused you to make this bad decision, or is this what caused this poor decision to be made, or where it's spun out of control? That's what I'm asking you there. If it's the oxys, then that's what we deal with. Like I said, there's a large percentage of people in this town that are on oxys. when I went out to get these coffee, there was 2 standing in front of Tim Hortons. I would almost, maybe if they weren't on oxys, they were on something, all right? There's a lot of zombies in this town. There's a lot of people that are abusing this drug, okay? And if that's what it is, and you joined a large population of this town using oxys, and you made a bad decision, that's reality. Because these people that are taking the oxys make bad decisions every day. They lie every day. They manipulate every day, right? That's because that's how they get the drug to begin with. Sometimes they may have bills they haven't paid. They may have drug debts that they owe. They may have to fly under the radar for a little while and keep a low profile because they owe money. But
the only reason I'm sitting here is because I got involved with bad people.
Yes, I agree with that. Probably worse people than you've ever imagined in your life. All right. Yes, you did. Yeah, you did. I don't know if you know how many of them that were bad or just how bad were they. I don't know at what stage you knew they were bad. But I'm gonna ask you a question here. I'd like you to answer it. It's not going to implicate you in anything. Did you have any idea how bad these people were? No. Do you think you do now, or was there a point when you caught on how bad, or I actually don't have to answer that? But you know, I mean, you've got in with some tough people. All right, I know that. Why do you think I've been sitting here going on and on, like, you know, flying under the radar and stuff? Okay, because this isn't you. All right, if you were one of these bad people, would we not know that? Would we not have a great big sheet of issues with you, of incidents, right? Of perhaps violent crime, drug crime, maybe home invasions to get drugs. Don't have any of those, okay? Don't have any of this, all right? But this is what you need to explain. These bad people and what their role is, okay? Because this is your chance. You've done all you can for these people. And now because of these people, you're sitting here, all right? With the last chance. This is the only time you're going to have any credibility.
So why aren't all these people sitting here?
Because they already were today. They are, and this isn't done yet, all right? But there's already been people in here today. And there's actually people in the other interview rooms as we speak. They've been cycled through all night, okay? And I will tell you this, and actually I'll put it on a piece of paper and I'll sign it. Every person we've had in here today has confessed. Every single one of them today, all right? Because one piece of evidence leads to another, which leads to another, until bang, it happens. Okay, it starts out with a video, starts out with some other information coming in, and then it starts out with, okay, outlining the evidence to one person. Every person in here today has saved their ass. Okay, every single one of them. And guess who the only person is that the threat assessor and the behavioral sciences guy is interviewing? Just you.
Everybody saved their ass.
Everybody said their piece, man. Everybody had their chance.
How do these people? It's not saving their ass.
No, you're probably right. They said their piece. That's probably a better way to put it. Everyone said their side of the story. Well, they had the chance now before someone else could say it for them. That's maybe a better way to put it. But every one of them has today. And that's reality.